Right, this week let's talk about how to make your tanks more Black Templars-y, because they just aren't Templars-y enough. I got a lovely shiny Sakaran here, let's ruin it. So, things that we associate with Black Templars generally are religious in nature. They are fanatics after all, basically an eternal jihad against the galaxy. Like Dune, it's pretty cool. But they love skulls because that's the face of the Emperor. They chain their weapons to their arms, so they love chains. Yeah. So chains, skulls, braziers, books, parchment. Easy. The first one of the easiest things you can do is go to your local hobby store and ask for some jewellery chain or crafting chain. It's quite little and super useful for these purposes. And then just using super glue and a bit of patience and trying not to stick your hands and everything to the tank, drape it over the main chassis. Of course, in this case, making sure you leave room for the turret. If you're doing something like a Rhino, you don't need to worry about that. I must say I have no idea what size chain I'm using here. It might be 6mm, but that's a complete guess. I bought it years ago for super cheap off of a reel. Here's where I couldn't decide if I wanted to add more or not, and I didn't add more. There's the tank with the chain on. A clean desk is a happy desk. Next up, we have to dig into our ample supply of bits. I have tons of Black Templars bits because the new kits come with loads, and I selected a few that were a bit more interesting and looked like they'd suit this tank nicely. First things first, we need to make sure that everybody knows this is a Black Templars vehicle, so we're going to add these raised Maltese crosses on the sides of the tank. Then I found this cool brazier that has a hand grasping it. It looks great on the minis that actually use it, but for my purposes I don't need the hand, so I cut that away and look for somewhere to hang this. Whenever you're kit bashing, it's absolutely worth dry fitting and seeing where you like the look of things. In this case, I decided it looked pretty good hanging off of the chain on the left hand side of the tank. The brazier looked a little bit lonely just hanging there by itself, so I decided to add, not this little dog bone I'm holding, but this little cute skull who has like a little bracelet around his head. Circlet, I don't know. Next up, I knew I wanted to have a holstered chainsword or pistol, maybe both, hanging on the outside of the tank, because nothing screams Space Crusader to me more than someone who's willing to get out of their enclosed armoured vehicle to grab a chainsword and ram it through somebody. Absolutely glorious. That should do it for the main chassis for now. Let's have a look at the turret. I think some candles will look nice up here. A good mindset to be in whenever you're converting Black Templars vehicles is to think of them as mobile shrines of war. So they're going to be covered with votives, offerings, candles, everything they could possibly pray to and kill people with. The Black Templars Primaris Crusader squad comes with a bunch of spare candles that normally sit on top of their little power packs, but I just cut off the little tab that inserts them to the power packs and they're regular candles. I also added a cool brazier with a skull on top. Priority seals never go amiss on any tank, but Black Templars ones especially, so I added a couple to the back of these storage boxes. The other side was looking a bit sparse at this point, so I added 2 of those dog bone things that just hang about in the Black Templars box. I'm assuming they're like arm bones or femurs or something. Pretty grimdark, so perfect for our purposes. Now let's put the turret back on and see how the whole thing looks together. Not bad. I thought the front of the tank was looking a tiny bit sparse, so I grabbed one of these cool resin Crusader Crosses from March of War and added it to the front. Needless to say, this was infuriatingly fiddly because the super glue would dry instantly or not at all. It was no in between. Then I dug into my healthy supply of pouches and backpacks to find some other cool things to hang off the side of the tank. This cool 3D printed power sword would look pretty great hanging off the side, so I grabbed that. And I also found this little bedroll tarpaulin thing that looks really cool and I have no idea where it's from. Spent a little bit of time trying to figure out where I wanted to put the sword, but I wasn't entirely certain, so I put it to one side and dry fitted the tarpaulin, and the first place I put it looked perfect, so I just jumped at it. Then I decided to put the sword in this nice angled panel because it looks cool, and on the other side there's a hunter killer missile, so it adds some symmetry because they're so so similar. Now the tank was looking good, but there was one final detail: a cherub. These creepy little babies are everywhere, so this absolutely needs to be added. I cut through a lot of this in the editing process because this took ages because the little bugger did not want to sit, but in the end it looked pretty good. That does it for the Sakaran. Now, let's see what we can do with the back bay of an Impulsor. But first, Bram. So I picked this one up recently. I got a good deal on it, so it's already built, which is excellent because all we want to do is convert. You'll notice the pintle mount is empty, which is perfect for our purposes, and it already has a missile launcher on the back. Now I'm already off to a winner here, as the Sakaran comes with this great little sprue that has a bunch of pintle mounted weaponry and things like that. So I found the multi-melter, and that was immediately going on the Impulsor because Black Templars have a special rule where they can use multi-melters on repulsors and impulsors, and it's incredible. Plus the older, more gothic look of this just works. From the same sprue there's this cool dozer blade that's meant for rhinos and predators and the like, and I thought this would look excellent as a brutal addition to the front of the Impulsor because of course they're just going to be ramming guys in the street. With the Impulsor, I mean. Then from the Black Templars upgrade sprue there's this cool little sword that looks like it's meant to be bolted to a tank, so I did that. Obligatory Maltese crosses to the side of the tank. And then every self-respecting son of the Emperor's favourite, purity seals. I had these purity seals wherever, there's no real rhyme or reason to it, just wherever I thought they looked cool, but generally almost always flowing towards the back of the vehicle because Black Templars, both in mindset and actually on the battlefield, are always moving forward, always on that crusade, so I just created motion using these purity seals. It's an easy effect. I rested the Impulsor at 90-degree angles so the purity seals didn't fall off. Then I grabbed this cool 3D printed box I got from Cults 3D or somewhere like that, I really can't remember, and filled it with this green putty from Green Stuff World. This green stuff from Green... Yeah, it didn't go too well. It wasn't what I was expecting. It's a bit more goopy than standard green stuff, so I got it all over my fingers and then prodded it with a toothpick until it stopped being mucky. Then I grabbed a bunch of spare auto bolt rifle magazines and some heavy bolter magazines, cut off the receiver parts that actually attach to the bolt gun, and mushed them into the box. So it's a cool little ammo crate. There you go, handy dandy little ammo box. Perfect. And now this can sit nicely anywhere in the back of the Impulsor. Next up, I wanted to make a little shrine that someone's made in the field. I added these cool little braziers, also from March of War, very useful to have around, and put them on top of this standard Games Workshop ammo box. Then I added some candles, also from March of War. James from March of War does some awesome bits and pieces for a lot of Space Marine chapters and various armies across the Imperium, and has some excellent bases, so I'll put a link in the description. Also hailing from the Black Templars upgrade sprue, I added this chained book to the top of the box. And a skeleton hand, because it's Halloween. Spooky. It's not Halloween, sorry. And then I grabbed this 3D printed book also from one of the 3D printing sites and added it to the top of the shrine. It looks cool, that's the shrine complete. And the best part is this box fits perfectly between the two benches and sits snugly at the back, so someone can kneel and pray and have a wonderful time in an enclosed shell of a tank. The final thing I did was add a spare iron hull heavy stubber to the left hand bench, because then it can replace the multi-melter, and that's the back of the Impulsor done. And with that, our two tanks are complete. If you enjoyed this video, let me know. See you next time.